Welcome into the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. I'm Justin Michael. My main man, Andre Simone, is here. We got a lot to talk about. We're talking CFB scheduling, whether the expanded college football playoff has changed, just kind of how group of five teams should view things in terms of trying to balance it all. You're trying to have a nice strength of schedule. You're trying to sell tickets. You're trying to be relevant on TV, but also you're trying to stay as unscathed as possible and, play your way into that expanded college football playoff, or at the very worst, a New Year's Six type bowl. Real quick, before we get into everything, we do have just a little bit of news for you. Isaiah Stevens will be working out for the Golden State Warriors this afternoon. There will be a media availability, so I'll have a chance to kind of hear how that went, get his perspective a little bit. We'll have some content on that, so make sure you keep your eyes out. Also, going to be catching up with Jay Norvell, so I'll have that interview in terms of I'm not sure I'm going to do it in written format. It might be a Q&A, might be a feature story. We'll get some of that on the pod. We'll get some of that on YouTube. Lots of fun content coming your way.
Beautiful. My
man Dre is here. We got the NBA Finals tonight. It feels good to finally have some sports back on the calendar again.
Wow. Shots fired at all the sports that have been on the calendar this week.
Well, yeah. Some. I mean, I'm wearing a Rockies hat. I know that sports are happening.
We rock our Rockies gear. I've had a good week of French Open tennis. So
there we go.
That's treated me well. Yeah, it's nice for the finals to be back. I'll have some value on DNVR bets for you later on today. Yeah, no, it's nice. It's nice. I'm excited for Isaiah Stevens, frankly. I'm excited for your Jay Norvell interview. I'm excited for all the great football content we've got at DNVR this morning.
It's going to be awesome. Man. We got Cortland Sutton coming into studio with the DNVR Broncos guys, so make sure you guys are locked into that. Obviously, a lot of stuff happening in the Broncos world, so that's an exciting interview. For the record, I'm not like anti-Olympic sports or anything like that. I've had a chaotic week, landlords showing the place, like, got to be in and out with the dog. It's been a process. So
terrible.
I probably haven't been as locked into the sports scene as I typically am.
Oh, no.
Dan Hurley going to the Lakers. Some are saying college basketball is dead.
Wow. Great take. Awesome take. He hasn't even, it's not even,
not even official.
They're just pursuing him, but college basketball is dead is a fun take. Top 3 candidates to replace Hurley in your mind if he does leave.
I think you probably got to go promote like Luke Murray. He's their lead assistant. He had been floated for a lot of gigs. I'm surprised he didn't get a head coaching gig. My guess is he's being patient and probably knew that there was a possibility that like at some point down the line, Hurley, it's a lot like CSU. Like if you're Ali Farokhmanesh at this point, if you get the right opportunity, you bolt. But I also don't think you're leaving to go be the head coach at like some small school in Kansas or Nebraska. You bide your time a little bit.
Similar to Michigan football.
Very similar to Michigan football.
The timing of this just sucks.
I feel for the players, and especially guys that come back. Right? Like they came back specifically to play for you. Obviously, they're getting paid, so it's not.
No, I mean, Alex Caravan was probably with Nee Clifford, like the biggest name to withdraw from the NBA draft, and then that happens just a week later. It's lame, and we were seeing this in, Michigan football was kind of in the same situation. Like a recruiting class was signed, and 10 days later, Harbaugh left for the Chargers.
Well, it's like as much as the chaoticness of the current college basketball and football landscape can be frustrating as a fan, these are the perspectives of like why players should have freedom of movement. Is that the reality is you can pitch loyalty and we're building something, I'm going to be here, you sign this class, and 10 days later the coach is going to ultimately do what's best for them. And if you're a player, you probably kind of have to do that too.
Yeah. We shall see. That's going to be a really interesting storyline.
Nice and dramatic. The Lakers, they're always giving us content.
Yes.
So shout out to everybody in the Toyota chat. Good morning, Taylor. Appreciate you guys always rocked with us. Appreciate everybody in the Toyota chat. If you guys are watching on Twitter, come over to YouTube. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. I always appreciate you guys locked in. Let's get into it. Let's talk college football scheduling. I briefly broached this subject the other day when it was announced. I made some jokes. Boise State, for like 2 days, they were hyping up this announcement like they were going to walk on the moon. They announced a 2025 game at Notre Dame. Exciting opportunity. They'll make $1.35 million to play it. But I've been wondering to myself, with this expanded college football playoff, are you better off trying to do what Liberty did last year, which was essentially just run the table, schedule wins, and hope that everybody else, kind of falls off, and you might just get rewarded for it anyways? The lack of strength of schedule did not hurt them. They still got the New Year's Six appearance.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are financial considerations. These Mountain West teams, especially, like even more so than the MAC or Conference USA, like they're trying to swim in the same waters as the Power 5, Power 4, however you want to phrase it. Like you're trying to recruit the same types of players. You're trying to be like, no, our facilities are on par. You're basically trying to say like, we're with you while having a lot less resources at your disposal. So if you're like a CSU, to get $1.8 million to play one game at Texas, or if you're a Boise State, to get $1.35 million to play one game at Notre Dame, you understand the necessity of that from just like an athletic department standpoint and trying to balance these books.
Yeah.
I just wonder at the same time, like, would you be better off as a Boise State, for instance, being realistic? Obviously, if you're CSU, you hope to be in this conversation as well. But if you're Boise State, like you would assumingly be one of the front runners next year, 2025, to be in the conversation for, like the front runner as a G5 school to land that spot in the playoff.
Yeah.
You already have App State on the schedule, which is an intriguing non-conference game.
It's a great game.
I wonder if they would have been better off, like just trying to schedule, a school from the MAC or something like that. I mean, obviously losing at Notre Dame, it's not going to kill your perception so long as you don't get run out of the building. But I don't know. There's a lot of things to consider now when it comes to scheduling. And I don't know if it's as simple as, well, we need the check, we got to do it. If you have a chance to play for the playoff, like you kind of got to get strategic here.
Yeah. I mean, what's a playoff appearance going to make you, roughly, ballpark?
Multiple millions, significantly more than the 1.35 you're going to get to play Notre Dame.
Right. And that's an interesting financial conversation to be had, of course. Now, the counter is have your cake and eat it too. Bring in that 1.3 and then make the playoffs and rake in that extra couple from there. It's an interesting combo, and Liberty's a unique case in this. Because
I think they changed the dynamic, because I think 2 years ago I would have been like, well, they'll use the strength of schedule against you. And we'd seen that in the past with schools like UCF who had kind of been punished. I do still think strength of schedule is probably going to be a factor to an extent. Like, I don't think the game plan is just, let's schedule 2 FCS teams. We'll schedule, the worst team from the MAC and something like that and just guarantee wins. But I know you got to play the game. Like, we've seen crazy things happen in the sport. Anything is certainly possible. But if you're a Boise State going to Notre Dame next year, if you're CSU going to Texas this year, it's not guaranteed, but you're essentially scheduling a loss. And I just, especially for a program like CSU, this is, I guess, another side of the argument, not really the playoff side of things, but like just an establishing momentum standpoint. Like, about around 2013, we kind of saw CSU start to schedule more of these big time games. They went to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
They did it again in 2017. Since then, we've seen them go to Florida. We've seen them go to Michigan. We've seen them go to Arkansas. Mm-hmm. They have one win in that time against the Power Fives. They beat Arkansas in Fort Collins, funny enough, in a really fluky game.
Should have beat them a second time, right?
Colin Hill doesn't get hurt. They probably win, I think, in Fayetteville, too. Or it's at least a close game. It was kind of a shootout before he goes down.
Yeah.
For a team that doesn't have a bowl win in over a decade, they now haven't been to a bowl since 2017. Like, having every year essentially at best starting 2-2 in non-conference play, like, is that beneficial for establishing momentum and like getting going? Like, would you be better off just trying to get some positive momentum going instead of being like, at best, we're 500 after the first month?
Yeah, the momentum conversation, I think, is probably the most interesting. And I think it does matter more for like Coach Norvell's program in year 3 and how important just getting some positive momentum, starting to build those winning habits to counter some of the losing habits that can be so hard to break, for lack of a better term, right? But it is something we've talked about last season where there were instances where the team just felt a little tight or felt like, I know how this has gone for us in the past, not necessarily always having those good vibes or that belief.
It's like the losing tendencies start to set in. The belief of like, here we go again. We've lived this story again. It's the same old song, same old dance. And I get that this is a really challenging dynamic. Like, for one thing, if you schedule some cupcake FCS team, there's probably not going to be any TV interest in it. Like, you're trying to balance exposure. You're trying to stay relevant. You're trying to sell tickets at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
you're trying to fill the stands. That's the other
like
thing,
a Washington State, when you can get them in town, that's a big deal. Like you were supposed to have Vanderbilt, or you did have Vanderbilt. You're supposed to have some of these other teams come in. I don't know. Like when this game against Texas got announced all those years back, I was very, very excited. And I still think it's a really unique opportunity for those that are going to get to go. I mean, it's up there, with like going to Bama, Michigan, like one of the premier college football atmospheres that you would like to experience. And for the couple thousand CSU fans that are fortunate to do it, like that's a really sick experience. At the same time, and it's easy to say this now knowing what we know, but like you already got the CU game on CBS. It's not like you're going to have any lack of exposure in the non-conference schedule.
No, I think
I kind of wish going to Texas, I wish they were not going to Austin week 1. I wish they were playing on paper a more winnable game. Now, again, you're going in there hoping to compete. I get all that. I'm not saying like you're going to do everything you can to win, but
it's a playoff team returning its starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they are in the small handful of teams that are going to be in the easy front runners for national champion. And like realistic ones, not just the ones you see that people are putting money on.
100%. To me, the momentum's the best argument. Competition, you're always going to be best off scheduling the best competition. And if there's a bonus that, you then can also rake in some nice revenue from other schools, that's nice. The Liberty arguments, to me, is going to come down way more to strength of schedule in conference than it has anything to do with the out of
But that's the argument you have if you're CSU more so than Liberty is like, unlike Liberty, it's like, well, we're going to play some actual premier games within our league slate. Most years Boise State's going to be in the mix.
100%.
UNLV's on the rise right now. You assume San Diego State's going to get it going again.
Well, and that's what's created the Liberty phenomenon is
the parity.
The rest of the G5 has some real parity in its conferences. And then all those G5 teams are in some way or another forced to schedule Power 5 opponents for everything you just laid out. So then, you're not going to end up with 1 or 2 losses. You might end up more with 3 or 4. And that's where you get in this. The ideal scenario is a Tulane, who 2 years ago was that team. And they did have some, even ranked non-conference Power 5 teams on their slate. Took care of business. Now, but again, though, that's another CUSA team? No, what?
Tulane?
Sunbelt?
Sunbelt, I believe. Let me pull it up. I can't remember anymore.
Sunbelt's a little tougher. But
they might be American at this point. There's been so much movement.
Oh, shit, they might have. But again, you're in one way or another, in a vacuum, you're kind of getting lucky and taking advantage of a down year for your conference. And that's where I'd like for it to be more complex. And honestly, man, we've danced around it before. I think a G5 playoff is something that might be very intriguing, might solve a lot of the economical conundrums you have at hand. It's a slippery slope. It maybe puts you in a tier you don't want to be in.
I think
there are worse ways to live in life.
Less would be more with a G5 playoff. It'd be a situation where it's like you would really want it to be refined. Like we're going to do the top 4 or we're going to do the top 8. Like I don't think you want a full-on 16 team because then
you don't want to go
it's got to feel
FCS
exclusive
style.
It's fun, but I don't know how much interest is really there on a national level to see like the 16th best G5, because I don't think that many people are watching the FCS playoff.
It's more regional interest.
It's all regional interest.
And isn't that maybe what you should lean into at some point? And CSU's a weird brand, man, because
you're somewhere in between.
Right. That's one of those, like, and we could list off, and we have in the conference realignment 5 to 8 other G5 teams that feel like that. The rest of them don't, though, man.
No, and that's why I think you're a little less willing to just concede that if you're a CSU or if you're San Diego State. Or you're still hoping to get hot and get in the Big 12 is the realistic answer. So we'll see.
It used to be a P5. There's enough spots to make it a P5 again. And I think CSU's more in that range, just with...
You have all the selling points. You need
how the
results.
The athletic department's performed in other sports, the economic commitment, the media market, the university, the town.
Well, I think there's a lot that...
way more P5
even despite the lack of football success in the last 5 years, and you've mentioned a lot of these in the past at times when I get a little frustrated with the state, is like it's not like they haven't committed. Optically,
1,000%,
you are a school
man.
that is very clearly interested in succeeding in athletics. Like you're investing in NIL, you're keeping your top talent, you're keeping your top coaches now. Like you're not just getting poached by everybody. I mean... You just got to win. That's what it comes down to. And ultimately, winning solves all of your issues. Like, just be more competitive. And then all of a sudden, like, a game against a fringe, we'll say just like a Oregon State or like a Cal, like that feels like, oh, yeah, we got this. Like, I talked about this the other day when I explored the top 10 wins of CSU football since 2000 and just how different it was back in like 2003. Like going on the road and beating a 9-win Cal team was like, yeah, why wouldn't Sonny Lubbock's Rams do that? You want to get back to that standpoint.
1,000%, man.
It's a tough
being that team
balance.
that you want to get back to when that Power 5 school scheduled you 5 years out and they're looking at their schedule now in June. They're like, shit.
Yeah, I really wish I didn't do that one.
Yeah, damn.
And funny enough,
we're paying them 1.3 to come here.
Is Boise getting that treatment an indication that, in my opinion, it's yes, but to me, it's an indication of like, you're just another Mountain West team now. You play bye games like everyone else. If you're Notre Dame in 2007, you're not inviting Boise State into your building and risking them beating you on your own turf.
Look, man, I think truth is the Boise brand's fallen off the last 7 years or so. I think there's a bit of a dividing line.
It's not that they're like a bad brand now. It's just that nationally they peaked, and like as we've alluded to, the parity is just much better in the Mountain West. The gap between them and everybody else isn't what it was.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to throw out some teams that have some schedule openings for CSU. Appreciate everybody popping in the Toyota chat. It's awesome this morning. Somebody asked what the line is for CSU Texas. Last I saw it was like Texas by 36. So pretty drastic line. First line I saw for the showdown, I think, was CU by 9, but a lot closer than the like 25 or whatever it was last year. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last. When your future's this bright, you need some shades to block it all out and keep you going strong. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company, but they offer a world-class product that's rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They've got hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair for you.
They're the best. Where are our Rams shades?
I forgot to put them out, but...
Damn it, Justin.
Here's the thing. The people are buying Shady Rays. Shout out to multiple people that tweeted at us this week saying they use the DNVR account.
Hell yeah.
Specifically Miss Ollie, Donovan Ollie's mother. We appreciate you tuned in.
Legend.
Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DNVR for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
They're awesome.
They really are the best.
Yeah,
so's Coors Light, though. And guys, life can be stressful. It's definitely stressful for me right now, dealing with moving and landlords and contracts and rental insurance and all kinds of fun stuff. I had to go get my tags renewed the other day. That's a process. It turns out I needed to get my emissions tested.
Oh, emissions got him.
They got me.
got him.
20-minute task ended up being a 2.5-hour task.
Let's go.
Here's the thing. When you have days like that, you can let it beat you. You can let it defeat you. You can choose to be in a bad mood, or you can let it all go. You can say, you want to know what? I'm going to have a chill night. I'm going to sit outside. I'm going to enjoy this beautiful Colorado weather. And then I'm going to crack open a silver bullet and ice cold Coors Light. When you choose chill, Coors Light is the beer for you. And when those mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. It's a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill with Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart. Just go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Okay, great Coors Light comment from Joey B here. This is classic. Every Thursday, we love you, Joey. I love you for it. I appreciate you. He says, if CSU covers at Texas, will Andre shotgun a Coors Light from that bucket in front of him? 36.5.
They just got to cover
on the road. Yeah, that's the thing. And Joey's always doing this. He's trying to.
I appreciate it. He's trying to get the party going. He's a man of the people.
Yeah, let's do it.
How about
36.5? I think they honestly cover.
I actually like their chances to cover in this game, especially depending on if CSU can run the ball a little bit. Shout out to my guy Nick in the Toyota chat. Says just got his first pair of Shady Rays delivered today.
Legend.
Shades for the people, man.
Love it.
All right, so we've got some schedule openings CSU football does in the next couple of years. I'll throw out some information so we can all be on the same page. First things first, obviously, we've got the Rocky Mountain Showdown in Fort Collins this year. There will be no showdown from 2025 through 2028. CU is fully scheduled in that time period, so you can't even add it. They do play Wyoming once during that span. They play Northern Colorado twice. Can't play the showdown because they've got such big time games to schedule over there, I guess. Should there be a bill that requires CSU and CU to play? It's being proposed in North Carolina. It gets a little more complicated in North Carolina because they have, I think, 5 FBS institutions. If you're Colorado, it would just be CU and CSU. Air Force is a private school. Greeley is not in the FBS.
What's North Carolina implementing?
There's a bill on the table in North Carolina that would require every year UNC and NC State to play each other, as as the App State and the other FBS teams in the state.
That's
not every single year. You'd have to play NC State and North Carolina would play every year, and then you would play I think one of East Carolina, App State, and all that.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, Tobacco Road alone, you have 4 Power 5 teams.
So,
yeah.
For the interest it drives in the state, there's an argument that you just logically you should play it from the revenue that it generates for the state, the local interest. Here's my thing. If you're CU, I understand you have less flexibility with your non-conference schedule because you only play 3 non-conference games versus 4. But you can't look at me with a straight face and say the game's not worth playing when you're going to schedule Northern Colorado, a home and home with Air Force, and get Wyoming to come to town. At that point, just play the fucking showdown.
Yeah, no, it should be played. It should be played. And I think, Wyoming's a game you would want kind of stuck in there. Obviously, with realignment, you worry that that's going to be lost. And, I mean, I think Colorado should try and get, Nebraska in the schedule every year. I mean, I just think...
Play the games people want to see you play.
You owe it to this region to keep those games.
To keep the tradition alive, to keep the history alive.
But, we say that, and then an Air Force cadet might feel like, oh, an Air Force too, right? And you and me would be like, actually Air Force.
Well,
I'm not sure we care.
It gets complicated. And honestly, I'm not turning up my nose at the idea of a team like CU playing UNC every couple of years. It's good for them too. It's the same reason I think CSU should play them every now and then. But the whole thing was when they said that we're not going to have the series be every year anymore, their argument, and they were very public with this, was that it's because we've got all these big time games we're going to schedule. They scheduled Texas A&M once, and ever since then, it's been Air Force, Greeley, and Wyoming. those are the games.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think both teams have scheduled Power 5 teams plenty, and you just need to make room for the showdown. It's not that hard.
It's
It's going to be crazy not to have it for the next 3 years, considering how
going to
hot
be on CBS this year. And
the rivalry is.
The Saturday
now.
slot on primetime CBS, and then we're just not going to play it for 4 years. Brilliant stuff by our local universities. Public-funded universities in the state should play each other. That's my stance on it. Some openings that are coming up. Also, should mention, as of right now, with the format that CSU plays, you play 8 conference games and you play 4 non-conference games. Technically, at the moment, it's going to be 7 conference games. Oregon State or Washington State, which counts in the conference standings, but they're not eligible within the conference. That's a whole ordeal. And then you play the non-conference. The TV deal only goes through the 2025 football season.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a change to this format, which would change like how this would work in the future. Like as of now, I'm basing this on having 4 non-conference games to play every year. Maybe it's only 3 in the future. Do you think that if there's a full reverse merger with Oregon State and Washington State, so those two just join the Mountain West as is, becomes a 14-team conference, should you go to a 9-game conference schedule at that point?
Probably makes sense.
What about if it's a rebuilt Pac-10?
No, then that's probably you could afford to go to just 8.
I'm with you, and I think that would be the way you would do it.
But, it is a new conference, and there would be a case to be made of the more of these games you're playing every single year, the more you're kind of accelerating those rivalries and that feeling more at home. Bigger thing is, man, they got to figure out that TV deal. That's coming up way too soon.
I think it's a good thing for schools like CSU and Mountain West and, the other Mountain West teams that are hoping to end up in a better position some way or another than the one they're currently in.
The sooner
that you have
the
some
deal's
flexibility.
up, the better.
Yeah.
100%.
Because it allows you to start
But you also need to capitalize. I mean,
you got to figure it out. You got to get
deals,
hot. You got to win.
Deadlines are everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I like being able to have some flexibility to potentially be like the first league that signs a major deal with Apple. Like, the streaming is coming into play. I have some old man takes about it, but I mean, this is the way that it's going. I
think you would prefer the streaming than what we have now.
Yeah, of course.
If the games were just on Netflix or a bigger
you need an
platform
advanced
like that.
sports package to get CBS Sports Network in the Pac-12. That was the problem all these years, was that CU and CSU have been so goddamn inaccessible. Excuse my language.
Yeah, no, 100%.
All right. 2024, obviously, we've got that schedule booked up. 2025, CSU, August 30th, they're going to Washington, which is now a Big Ten game. They've got Greeley coming on September 6th. Greeley should be the only FCS team that we schedule unless we absolutely have to play somebody else. Don't ever play Montana State, Sac States again. If I have to ever see CSU lose another FCS game, I'm going to rip my freaking hair out.
Yeah, those are the ones you'd maybe avoid. Like, instead of FCS, can you just schedule like the RMAC, who's been phenomenal the last few years? Is a ranked D2 opponent worth it? School of Mines, by the way, would
does
be
that
a hell
actually
of an
count
opponent.
as a victory for you? Like, I don't know if that can count towards bowl eligibility the way that an FCS win can.
Seems like we're splitting hairs pretty
I know, but I think that might be the distinction.
unnecessarily there. It's a good point though.
CSU does have an opening on September 13th. So they're going to Washington. They're going to Vanderbilt. They've got Greeley come in. I'm just going to throw out some teams that have some openings in future years, and we can kind of go back and forth. Like, I don't think trying to build a schedule is going to get pretty impossible. But some FCS teams, you've got Southern Utah. UC Davis has an opening in 2025. If you are going to play an FCS team, play a crappy one. That's one that they've scheduled in the past. Some former conference mates. Utah has an opening in 2025. It'd be fun to get the old Mountain West rivalry going again.
Be really nice.
BYU has an opening in 2026, so it'd be interesting to see. CSU's got 2 openings currently for 2026. They've got a pair of openings in 2028 and 2029.
Would be funny to get an opponent from Colorado, same conference.
Yeah.
Schedule like BYU.
Yeah.
And Utah, I guess.
I just think it'd be cool to see some of these teams we haven't seen in a while. Like CSU played TCU before they were in the Mountain West. They obviously played them throughout the time they were in the Mountain West. We haven't played them since they left. It's a game that it feels like a game that's going to have some national attention. Like it's probably going to end up like worst case be like an FS1 game, but it doesn't feel like going to Texas. It feels like that's a game that you could go in and, maybe win.
Yeah, totally. That'd be a fun matchup, and there's a little more history. I do like the idea of trying to get Utah, BYU, some of those schools on the schedule again. Just keeping those regional ties is nice because obviously we're moving further and further away from them.
Once you can have great crowds, people are willing to travel. It's fun for the regionality was such a big part of college sports, especially in this part of the country. Like
exactly.
Like I think back to the old Big 12 and like it was exciting for people from Kansas State like to go to Boulder or like, the old Mountain West. Like you had people, it's fun to go see like the pretty mountains in Utah and stuff or like go to San Diego, Vegas.
100%.
Like, all of them were very accessible. You had a lot of local history. I hate that we're going away from it. A couple of teams I'll throw out and then we can kind of have more of a discussion on what type of teams you think they should aim for. But just some teams they played in the past that have openings between now and 2030. Cal, they played Cal a couple of times under Sonny Lubick, beat them in 2003 on the road. Houston last played them in 2007 with Case Keenum. They've got some openings. Minnesota's got some openings later on in the decade. Virginia as well. Boston College has one coming up in 2026. Out of those couple of teams I threw out, do any of those jump out to you?
Houston, probably.
Playing in Texas would be intriguing.
Helps you playing in Texas, helps playing in Houston. I mean, as far as the metro areas in the U.S., Houston might be the number one choice as like hottest recruiting hotbeds in America. And, it's another, like it's a former G5 team similar to a Utah and BYU. Like I think it does help to kind of remind that tier of school, like, hey, we're still here. We're still very competitive with you. Don't think you've gotten too hot right now.
It's a good point. We should add Houston. The reason that Boise State is playing Notre Dame is because Houston dropped a game with them. So they might be trying to kind of play less of these. I guess we'll see. Alabama's got an opening in 29. Vanderbilt has openings in 28 and 29. I like Vanderbilt because if you win, it's still an SEC win. Everybody knows what it is. It's an SEC win, but like it feels kind of like along the lines of scheduling. Like, I don't know, like I'd rather play Vanderbilt than like an elite G5. I feel like you probably have a better chance to win.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take necessarily. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, you have a better coach a couple years ago. You should win that game in Fort Collins.
Totally. Now, the argument for some of these, like you just mentioned Alabama, that last time they played Alabama, that did some of CSU's players some real good.
They were competitive both times, and I'm glad you brought that up, actually.
Putting that on tape was really important for
NFL draft, and just confidence, though. I mean, Rashard Higgins talked about it, and just making a couple plays on that 2013 game, and you just kind of realize, like, yeah, like they're big and fast and strong, but it's just football. Like, it's not that different. And that's obviously the counter is that you can establish some momentum. I actually thought both times CSU went to Tuscaloosa, they played number one Alabama. They hung well. They came out of it with confidence, despite the fact that, they didn't win. In 2017, they won 4 straight league games after that. In 2013, that game in Bama, it's kind of what turned their season around because they lost a weird game to San Jose State early on, back when they were... San Jose State's so weird. It's like they're either a 10-win team or they're a 2-win team. There's like really no in between. It's been how they've been for a quarter of a century. But they were pretty decent at the time. But lost a frustrating game to them. Lost a tight game to CU in the showdown. I think that one was 31-17. And then you go to Tuscaloosa, you hang. It was a 1-score game before a tipped ball interception kind of allowed Bama to pull away. If you look at the final score of that 2013, I'm sure you're being like, yeah, okay, it was like 30-6 or whatever it was, but it actually was a competitive game. And in 2017, Saban had to put the starters back on the field. He was pissed.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, Shaq put on a masterclass on DJ Fluker in 2013. Yeah, I think there was real value to that, and that shouldn't be completely.
And that's what I mean. Like, I don't know, like this. I'm not envious of athletic directors right now, especially these G5 schools that are trying to swim in the same waters as the bigger programs. Like, you're trying to accomplish the same things they are with less resources, less finances, to work with. You're trying to appease your fans and have games be interesting enough that people are still going to be locked in, because it's not like you get the benefit of the doubt like, the SEC or some of these other schools. But you're also still trying to make sure you don't schedule yourself into too many losses or put yourself in a bad spot. Like, it's a brutal spot to be one of these decision makers.
Yeah, 100%. Lots to juggle. And honestly, you won't. In a few years, it'll be more clear, like, this was the way to go with the new playoff format and what have you.
You got to figure it out now. Like, you can't.
This is where you need to project and kind of figure that out.
Well, and it's tricky with how far out some of these games get scheduled. Like, it'd almost be better off for some of these programs if you only scheduled out like 2-3 years at a time. Right. Even now, it'd be with the portal era. Even then, like, a team could be so drastically different in 2-3 years. But like, you schedule one of these crappy FCS program, and then all of a sudden they have a rise under Troy Taylor. And it's like, well, the Sac State game didn't feel that scary 4 years ago. Now all of a sudden they're like a powerhouse. You shouldn't be scared of an FCS team no matter what. But, I mean, it's just the reality. A couple other G5s I'll just throw out. Appreciate everybody in the Toyota chat. My buddy Aaron Harris at one point threw out that in 2028, CSU and Penn State both have mutual openings. That could be a fun bucket list trip. For the opening in 2025, though, Tulsa has an opening on September 13th, the same opening as CSU. That's obviously a school we've played a couple of times. Some other schools in the coming years: Toledo, Central Michigan, New Mexico State's open in 2025, Ohio, and Marshall. Tough spot trying to balance this. I don't know what I would do if I was an AD. I guess if I could have it my way, which, rarely is that the case, I would be like, in non-conference every year, CSU would play the showdown. They would play one intriguing group of 5 game. They'd probably play Northern Colorado, and then you try and play one other game that's either like a winnable group of 5 or a lower level P4. I do say having, going to Michigan and playing CU in the same year, that's tough. Like, playing CU and Texas in the same year, that's tough. I'd rather play these games at Texas in the years where you're not playing the showdown, just in terms of, like, there's so much that goes into the Rocky Mountain Showdown. We get it. Like, there's so much anticipation, so much buildup that, like, if you don't win those games, it can be just a letdown. There's just so much goes into it. Yeah, I was kind of all over the place, but I thought this was a fun subject to discuss.
For sure. So many factors to consider. Gazillion schools.
We're going to take a breath. Now we're going to move on. We're going to have a little bit of fun as we get out of here. Dre and I, we're going to go back and forth. We're going to do a little draft here and do the best summertime activities in Colorado. I'm going to leave that really open-ended for you because that can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I think I went first last time. Go ahead and...
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, concert at Red Rocks. I think this is an easy first overall pick for me.
Why?
Red Rocks is magical. If you go there, the atmosphere is just phenomenal. The setting is really incredible. The views, the vibes, open air concert. It's just like perfection. It's summer. Yeah, it's just the best, man. And it's very uniquely Colorado. You cannot get that experience anywhere else.
Good value in a draft in that sense. You can't just do it anywhere.
No. Uniquely Colorado.
All right, I'm going to go have a beer at Coors Field.
Okay.
I think it's the best spot you can have a beer outdoors in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more of the attraction than watching the on-field product right now. Having a beer, having a hot dog on a nice summer night, especially if it's like a June night. You know, if it's like a 100-degree day in July or August, I'm out. But you can get yourself like a high 80s night in June, maybe an NL West game. Doesn't get better than that.
Interesting. There's so many great picks here. Give me a mountain road trip, though.
Ooh.
Well, I don't know. Are we snake drafting it? Are we alternating?
We can just alternate. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have one in mind in specific?
Well, that's the thing, right? There's lots of destinations, but I don't think the destination is really the goal.
It's about the journey.
It's about just being able get in the car, head west, and just whether it's fair play or you want to go all the way to Telluride or you're going to a national park or, however close or far you want to go, a nice little mountain road trip, great way to go about summer.
So am I excluded from taking camping now?
No.
All right, I'm going to go.
I told you it's the road trip that's highlighted.
Okay, well, just got to make sure that we're on the same page here, buddy. Communication is key.
I agree.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to go camping in Rocky Mountain National Park.
Yeah, that's a good one. All the national parks, I think, are great value picks here, especially Rocky Mountain National Park. That's a good one. Good for you. Good for you. Give me Pilgrimage to Casa Bonita. The vibes are right. It's what I would do in the summer as a youth. The food used to be apparently the food is really good now. Far harder to get in. So a little trickier maybe on that side.
Yeah, it's kind of... I don't like that I haven't been yet since Trey
The
Parker and Matt Stone did. I don't like the exclusivity. It feels too uppity. Casa Bonita is for the people.
I think it's still for the people. It's just super popular. So yeah, give me Casa Bonita. Again, uniquely Colorado, Justin. Uniquely
You are
Colorado.
getting the uniquely Colorado points.
What are you doing? Coors Field, I guess, pretty unique.
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain National Park, pretty unique as well.
This one might be a little bit divisive because people have different opinions on this. I think going to the zoo in the summer is a lot of fun.
Zoo's a good one. Hot.
And that's, I will say,
very hot.
you're getting in dangerous territory there depending on what day you go.
Yeah. I have a child, and then you end up going earlier, and there's other parents like that, and we've all got the same look, sipping on some iced coffee. Parking's really hard. I don't know.
Parking's a nightmare at the zoo.
Parking's a nightmare. I don't know, man. I have a higher museum zoo park on my list. Do I pull the trigger here? Okay, this is a harder one to qualify, but honestly, it's a top 3 pick for me. Here's how you can put the verbiage. Chilling at sunset. Colorado, outside, when the sun goes down, is one of the most elite places in the world in the summer. Whether you're barbecuing or just hanging out on your front or back patio or a backyard. Or
just experiencing a summer sunset.
Right, you went to a park, or you've got a green space or a little hiking spot you might have in mind. Because we're at high altitude and the climate is so nice and dry, once that sun starts to go down, it cools off and it's just amazingly beautiful. The sunsets as well are just stunning. The weather's perfect. You don't deal with the heat and humidity and the disgusting mosquitoes that they have in the Northeast and the Southeast and the Midwest and, the Southwest for that matter. It's a beautiful thing. It's absolutely elite. And it's what makes this place so bearable in the summer when so many other places are unbearable.
In particular, Fort Collins summer sunset. I don't know if I've ever been happier in my life than just like being 19 years old, sitting out with my buddies,
Walking around Old Town.
having a drink that I may or may not have been old enough to consume at the time. I mean, it was a great time.
Legendary.
Same vibes. Backyard barbecue. Just keeping it simple.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Similar like the zoo. You don't want to do it when it's 100 degrees. You're hoping to get like an 85-degree day with the sun out. But
Yeah.
I mean, as long as the weather is not too crazy, like it's tough to go wrong there.
No, that's a good one for sure. Lots of great ones still left on the board. Some other national parks, sand dunes, great camping experience. Mesa Verde's really stunning. Lakeside, a day at the Richard to go watch the Pids at the Dick. But with my last pick, I think I'm going to the Museum of Nature and Science.
It's a good choice.
Sometimes I need a cool off in summer, and I have a lot of outdoor activities. This is my indoor activities. Parking better than the zoo, close together. Awesome stuff. As an adult or with a child, easy to move through, see lots of different exhibits. Very interactive. You get to learn a lot. You see a lot. Their Native American exhibit, a little hidden, elite. Lots of options in the food court. And you're like 5 blocks from us. If you don't want to eat there, you've got plenty of options downtown.
It's nicely located.
It's a good time, man. It's a good time. Loved it as a kid. Like it maybe even more as a father. And yeah, man, actually we've got friends visiting in town, and the kiddo and wife went a couple days ago. Super jealous. I want to take her back soon. Nuggets won the title. I took the next day off. I just took the kiddo to the Museum of Nature and Science. It was glorious. Like one of my favorite ways to celebrate a title.
You just hit on a very specific set of nostalgia for me that I haven't thought about in a long time.
Let's go. The saber-toothed tiger.
Oh yeah.
That you put the coin in and it growls. But then as kids, we figured out you could just like rip up little pieces of paper and it'd still growl for you. Oh, epic stuff. I've been torn on whether I teach my child that that's the trick or not.
You got to let them figure it out on their own.
I think that's right. It's an important learning experience. Yes.
I got to hit up the museum. I haven't been there in far too long.
Yes.
We've got some good ones left off. I mean, visit a brewery, I think, is very distinctly Colorado.
Yep. I saw that in the Toyota chat.
Botanical Gardens, Waterworld, if you're into it.
Right.
I can't stand Waterworld, I'm going to be honest, guys. You couldn't pay me to go to Waterworld, but
last thing I want to do in the world. The aquarium, though.
Aquarium is up there.
It's a cooler zoo experience in some ways. More indoor activities.
It's a good point. Air conditioning is big.
Yeah. That's right.
When you went that route, I considered going to a movie like growing up as a kid. Like a summer movie was always a thing.
Honestly, so I grew up in Italy, but my mom's from Colorado, and we'd visit every summer, and my grandpa would laugh at us and say, "What do you do in the summer when you come to the U.S.? You shop." But I think shopping, whether you're visiting a mountain town and you just want to look
around
at tchotchkes in the little town shops, or you want to go to a mall and cool off and get some shopping, you got some outlets in mind.
I love going to Vail and seeing all the things I can't afford. Or like the fancy malls in Vegas.
Or thrifted up in a place like Vail, and then there's more upscale stuff, or Cherry Creek. That's shopping too, Justin,
It's true.
So
balling on a budget.
Shopping, underrated, could be up there as well.
I'm going to go with a very specific answer for me, and it actually, my guy, the Oso Blanco, has it in the comment section.
Blanco. He knows, man.
Vail in the summertime is elite. And so just popping up to Vail. It's close enough to Denver that you can do a day trip if you want. If you're staying overnight, it's great.
Yeah. A little ritzy for my taste, Justin, but I'll allow it.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't fit in there at all. Like it's not like I'm walking around going, me in my Patagonia vests with everybody. I'm definitely a fish out of water, but it's really pretty.
No, I mean, it's
yeah, summer in a
gorgeous.
ski town is
Gorgeous,
just
man.
nice. It's not as chaotic.
Yes.
When I'm there in the winter, I feel extra poor. So,
No doubt.
you see the euros flashing the cash in Vail. It's a little humbling at times.
It is. It does feel more accessible and chill in summer.
That's more what it comes down.
And
It's the
maybe
only
just-
time I could really be there.
Like, the tourists in town are a bit more diverse.
Definitely,
Which is nice.
Definitely. I think we got a good answer.
Then you feel more like a local,
I thought about cheating, to be honest, and just trying to
Hell
sway
yeah.
the vote and just putting Horsetooth on there, and then I get all the CSU fans.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But the reality is that like I feel like it's the same as you could say I'm watching the sunset at Horsetooth, or
Yeah.
like we're barbecuing up there. Like you could kind of throw that in, and that way we both get to use it.
Honestly,
This was fun.
a spring training game, that's kind of a good summertime. Underrated, but
I guess.
barbecuing and tailgating in August, does that count? First game of the season, late August, early September.
Preseason football.
But hey, good times.
I got preseason tickets for sale. Anybody who wants them?
We totally could have done that, just like a beer at Coors, a beer at the Dick, opposite preseason, like spring game, just because that's really all we do.
It is all we do.
It's like really our favorite activities, like opening closing the screen door, getting a little air in while we're on the couch.
Yeah. Watching the Olympics while my air conditioning blasts me in the face.
Exactly.
Whitewater rafting is a good one. That's probably a miss on our part if you're in a...
Oh, it's some, but we would have been insincere, Like,
It's not top five. It's something you got to do at some point in your life, but it's not like an annual summer thing.
I'll give you guys a little inside baseball. Zach Stevens, when they do these on Broncos, he Googles the term and then just leans into that. Had we gone that route, we would have had hiking, whitewater rafting,
brewery tour.
yeah, all that kind of. No,
It's basic.
We've got Casa Bonita and Red Rocks and Coors on there. That's
is
the kind of
real
guys we
Colorado.
are, dog. Yeah.
Appreciate Alyssa behind the sticks, making everything happen. Shout out to
Always,
everybody in the Toyota chat. Appreciate y'all keeping it respectful. Even the bus fans, you guys are always welcome, man. It's all about college
great.
football in this state.
Yeah,
I
leave us
can't
a
wait
like, man.
for this fall. It's going to be a blast. All kinds of chaoticness. It's going to be here before we know it. I'm always proud to be. I'm going to be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm going to be playing my interview with Jay Norvell. I'm going to catch up with him this afternoon, so make sure you guys are locked in. Kind of set the scene for the season, talk about the off-season additions, all that fun stuff. Much love, y'all. Peace.